Are we live?
We're live. Welcome, everybody.
All right.
Everybody. This is Charles Cook. I am managing partner of Cook Baxter, one of the three plaintiffs firms that have successfully secured adjudication of our DV 2021 selectees. I am joined in the middle by the eminent Greg Siskin, who's just an extraordinary lawyer, did yeoman's work here, and he's going to address you first. And then on the right is Phil Cook, who really single-handedly drafted this. Phil was he's the legal brain on this, and he's going to talk a little bit about this too. We're going to invite you to ask questions over here, and we're going to be answering those questions as we go along. But we want to kind of give a 35,000-foot overview and then like a 10,000-foot overview. And we're going to start with Greg. Greg, go right ahead.
Yeah, so thanks. So this is an interest, and that noise you were hearing at the beginning was me just printing this thing out. It's huge. And it's an 85-page case. So basically, this is, Chuck, what were there, 6 cases or 5 cases at the end that were all consolidated? I think there were 6 cases. 5. Okay. 5. I don't remember. They kept adding more. So there were a lot of things going on at the same time in this case, and that's why the arguments last week took 4 hours. There was just a lot of lawyers, and there were a lot of plaintiffs, and there were a lot of arguments, a lot of things that were going on. Our case was pretty narrowly focused on the diversity visa winners, and basically, but just to give a little bit of background, you all know this because you're here. If you didn't know this, you wouldn't be here. But this was about the 2 visa bans that were implemented earlier this year. The April ban on immigrant visa categories, which included family categories, employment categories, and the diversity visa category. And then there was the June ban, which focused on a few pretty significant non-immigrant categories. And there were lawsuits that were filed challenging various aspects of the ban and different types of populations. You got to remember, this is like 500,000 people that were impacted by these 2 bans. So there's just a lot of moving parts to this. So our firms decided to just aim at one particular group of people, the diversity visa people. And the reason why we picked that group is because they had the most time sensitivity as a group. Not that individuals don't have time sensitivity in their individual cases, but as a group, the diversity visa folks had a September 30th deadline to get their green cards. And the statute says if you don't have it adjudicated in the fiscal year for your selection, it doesn't roll over. Employment-based green cards roll over. Family-based green cards roll over if you don't get it in the same year. But for the diversity visa, you get one shot. So that's why we decided to focus on that group. The other cases, the big one was there was one of the cases was Gomez v. Trump, and that's what that this decision will be listed under, because that was the first case on here. Gomez v. Trump had just about every category in there. I think they had all of them. I don't think they left anybody out. What we were asking for last week was an overturning of the proclamations altogether, and then in particular for our clients, we were asking the judge to figure out some remedy to make sure that the diversity visa folks got their green card for the end of the fiscal year at the end of this month. So we got this decision, and before we even saw the decision, we saw a headline, I think, that just looked like that it was a complete win. And then we realized it was like a win for our clients, but it's not a win for a lot of other people tonight. And some of you may be watching us that are in these categories that weren't benefited. So
lots of questions about the other categories, Greg.
Yeah, so I want to say, I mean, while we're happy, we certainly are very happy about the results for in our case. The fight has to go on for the plaintiffs in the other cases. The non-immigrant visa holders who are stuck abroad, the immigrant visa holders, and the family, the immigrant visa applicants, and the family and employment categories, and the other groups. before we talk about our case, I did want to mention that there is another case. This is not the end for preliminary injunctions. There is another case that's being, I think September 10th is a preliminary injunction date. That is in the that's going to be in San Jose or San Francisco, I forget, but it's in Northern California coming up next week, and that case is basically another, as I say, bite at the apple to potentially overturn the ban. So different judge, different court, different circuit. So all hope is not lost for people that didn't get a good result from this decision that we're going to be talking about in a minute. But for those of you who are the DV winners, this is a good night. We have there's a hell of a lot of work that has to be done in the next I guess 26 days, and hopefully it will be done for everybody by that point, so that we don't have to resort to some of the other stuff we're going to talk about. But anyway, Chuck, I think that's enough for the preliminaries. I think probably the easier thing is to just start talking about what the decision says.
Great. Phil is our expert on the 85-page decision. So Phil, yeah, I know Greg is still printing it out on his dot matrix print at his home. So Phil, what can you tell us about this decision? What it mean and what specifically the judge ordered to be done?
Yeah. So I did have an opportunity to review the whole all 85 pages of the decision. It's a very interesting decision, but we should just start out by reviewing what was ordered. So Judge Maida, the DC District Court, he ordered that preliminarily the no visa policy that the State Department has implemented as a result of the presidential proclamations will be stayed as it applies to diversity visa applicants and their derivative beneficiaries. It says that the defendants may not interpret or apply the proclamations in any way that forecloses or prohibits embassy personnel, consular officers, or any administrative processing center from processing, reviewing, or adjudicating 2020 diversity visa or derivative beneficiary applications, or issuing or reissuing a 2020 diversity or derivative beneficiary visa based on the entry restrictions contained in the proclamation. So it's saying that the consulates, embassies, they cannot interpret the proclamations in a way to suggest that they cannot issue or reissue, and that's important, reissue for those persons whose visas have expired. The decision also states that so the judge is being very careful with his language here. He's saying they can't interpret it to as a reason to deny it. He's also ordering them to undertake quote unquote good faith efforts to issue and reissue these visas to diversity visa applicants. He's enjoining the defendants from refusing to process, review, adjudicate, issue, or reissue diversity visas, specifically on the ground that they are not emergency or quote unquote mission critical exceptions. That was one of the arguments you guys know that the defendants were using for a reason not to issue diversity visa applicants their visas. And the analysis, and we can go into that later, was very interesting because the judge there was no reason given by the defendants as to why diversity visa applicants couldn't be included in the emergency or mission critical exceptions. The part that I find interesting here is that the court actually declined to order the defendants to reserve unprocessed DV 2020 visas past the September 30th deadline.
Yeah.
But
right. I was getting to that. But he said that he ordered the State Department to report not later than September 25th on those persons, those plaintiffs in our actions that have not been issued, and all DV 2020 selectees. So this does not just include plaintiffs. I've seen a lot of those questions on Twitter. It applies.
Point, Phil. This applies to everyone in the whole universe of DV selectees. Importantly, but he did say, hey, make sure the plaintiffs are done first, okay? Make sure you get them. But I think this is the point that we need to mention. They selected more people than there were lottery winners. I hope everybody realizes that. There were about 80,000 people selected for the lottery, and only 55,000 get it. So, and that's because of a standard.
We don't really know how many started the application process, do we? We do
like 81,436 or something like that were
actually filed for immigrant visa processing, or
no? That's how many were selected in the lottery.
We don't know how many actually followed through.
We have no idea how many can move forward with it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, hopefully there aren't people left out in the cold, but you would be smart to get going. Really
yeah, I think the court is going to. So the court, I mean, they specifically said that they're going to be looking at the number of unused visas at the report date on September 25th. So if there are still a large number of unused visas, we could see the court, implement some kind of increase on the deadline, or using the unprocessed visas for the DV 2020.
What I loved about that, Phil, is the judge did not, as he did in many other parts of the case, he didn't toss out the idea and say, I don't have authority to extend this. I think we gave him a way to extend the visas. He ordered them to nunc-pro-tunc them, which means retroactively approve them, or to reserve them for next year. And of course, there is in Congress a bill that would make sure that all DV numbers for 2020 are used. But again, important to point out, not everybody who was selected is going to get a green card, because there's only 55,000 DVs, and they notified, or they selected 80,000 people. And that's really about the average drop-off rates, about 40%, Greg, from my 30 years of experience of looking at it, because they will drop you off for a period being out of place. They are hyper focused on it. All right, Phil,
one more thing I do want to point out on that point is that the judge is going to be specifically looking for the plaintiffs as well. So the State Department needs to not just say how many were unused, but they need to report on every single one of these plaintiffs that might not have been issued, and they may need to give reasons for that as well.
And there were in total almost, I think, 920 plaintiffs in the lawsuit. How many did we have in our part of the lawsuit, Phil?
Ooh, gosh.
194, 191 or something like that?
Yeah, close to 200, but it's not all of them were not all of them in all of the cases were DV.
No. And so one of the things that we wanted to emphasize to people from the beginning, and really one of the reasons we did this pro bono, we did not charge anybody to do this work, was one, because we believed in the issue. We think it's important that nobody gets screwed out of their chance to come to America. And we know the odds of getting picked in the lottery. People have been applying 15, 20 years, and they finally get picked. And at the very last minute, Donald Trump pulls the rug out and says, too bad you lose. We just felt that was wildly unfair. But we also knew that even though our class certification was technically not granted, and we didn't file a class action. We did file a small certification for people whose visas had not been reissued. They'd been given visas. That was our part of the class. But they reissued visas to all but one of our clients already. They tried to moot out the class, right, Phil? They say, hey, oh, no, those people don't exist anymore. Have a nice day. But we knew that if he ruled for us,
bastards,
he would have to rule for everybody. I mean, that's why we knew it would protect everybody.
I judge's analysis as well. He was saying, well, it doesn't make sense to make the defendants comply just to certain immigrants. It makes it on a broader policy scale to make it apply to all immigrants. And so that's what he said. It doesn't matter that he denied the class certifications, because it's going to apply to all of you anyway.
There's something really important in this decision as well that is going to, I think, have a positive impact on future cases, which will
including one of ours, right, Greg?
But one of our big arguments was that the Section 212F does not bar the issuance of visas. It's an entry, and this was something. This is something that is an important issue. For all these proclamations that are coming out on it, and this is this is going to be an important argument that we're going to make in our K1 case that we're have I guess that we haven't told those folks yet, but we hit our number today, so we are proceeding with that litigation. But the Schengen ban,
about that, Greg. I did tweet about it. I did. I tweeted about it.
You did. So. All right, that's moving. But that case, we have I guess what are the 20 some odd countries that are banned from coming to the U.S. because of coronavirus, and that 14-day ban that doesn't seem like that big of a deal. The State Department has used that as an excuse not to issue visas to people that are from those countries. This case will be helpful in making the argument in that case that the State Department has the authority to issue visas. The judge did not buy that argument here, and I thought that was.
Greg, do you know why he didn't buy that? Because there's no valid basis in law to do it.
Because you actually he was, and that was one of the more amusing parts of the arguments last week when the judge was like, "I'm reading this," and it's like,
"It's not in there." He said, "Can you point to me in the statute where it says that?" "Oh, it's not in there. No, just don't try."
So that hopefully in future, and it is possible that the administration will see the writing on the wall and maybe will, for example, look at issuing visas to people that are still subject, so that they don't have to come back in December or January looking for that visa. It would certainly be efficient in a lot of, to issue them visas.
Craig, I just realized one huge group that will benefit by that probably more than anybody else is Iranians. Iranians have been refused visas under basically the bans that Trump has put into place. They are now entitled to their visas. They may have an entry ban, but they're going to have the visa issued to them. So this is actually huge news, and it's a position the Department of State has taken, at least under the Trump administration. I know at one of our annual meetings of the American Immigration Lawyers Association, they just threw it out there like, yeah, of course we're not going to issue visas. It's a travel ban. And they're going, what? Where do you get that from? And they just, I guess they figure they just throw it out there as if it's law, and people might be.
And I'm wondering,
against the wall and it sticks.
So I mean, it's like, and yeah, you make a good point. And for some of these people, in 60 plus 90 days, I guess, if we get the Lord is looking down on us and we get a Biden administration, for some of these people, these visas being issued now will make a big difference for them, as far as not having, the next president having to basically start from scratch and figure all this stuff out.
Now, this is one thing I did want to note. Remember, most people will not be able to come into the country by September 30th. That is not the rule. Now, there are a lot of people that have emailed me and they have questioned, well, hey, I'm adjusting status in the United States under the diversity lottery. Well, then, if you don't not approved yet, you better call your lawyer now, because you have to be approved by September 30th.
You need to go to court or
call your lawyer now. If you don't have a lawyer, get a lawyer now, because immigration, unless you're writing a bonfire under their bonbons, there's no guarantee you're going to be approved. But the Department of State only has to issue the visa by that point. That they're good for 6 months. So you have until, let me get the math. You have until March to come into the United States, and please find a way to come. I mean, I know a lot of you got stuck, but there were people, Greg, that were issued visas in December. Oh, I think I'll go to America later next year. I mean, if you got to swim,
who would have predicted?
Well, but come on, really?
Oh, mercy there, Chuck.
And then, we had families. I mean, we had our plaintiffs. So Dad came, and Mom came.
And I think people gave the doubt that Donald Trump wasn't going to figure out a way to basically.
No, well,
immigrants out.
Well, he does hate diversity visa.
If it's going to be bad, Trump will do it against immigrants.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I'm sad for, the categories that didn't benefit tonight, but we know that the diversity visa folks are the ones that Trump hates the most. So
yeah, he does.
when he gets the news, or I'm sure they'll wait till after dinner. He probably hasn't gotten it yet, or after his Fox primetime lineup is over. And when they give him the news, he's gonna care more about the diversity visa people coming than all the other people that are.
You will be in a presidential tweet. Is that possible?
That is coming. Oh my
Gosh,
gosh,
I hope so.
Greatest.
That would be the best. I would actually frame that tweet. That would be awesome. Or maybe he just blocked me right away. Now, one of the other things I did want to
mention, illegal, by the way.
Yeah, of course it is.
Come on.
I do want to answer some questions here because we have lots of good questions. And what we're going to do is going to put them up on the screen. By the way, Courtney says, Phil, they know you. This is great. I don't know who Courtney is, but we're here. Hey, Phil. So Phil's saying hello.
Yeah,
Ian Brown was one of the adjustment people. Again, Ian, get yourself a lawyer now. This case has nothing to do with adjustment of status.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with that.
Look, the USCIS has, even in the Trump years, done a pretty good job of getting the diversity people finished. But your lawyer needs to be in communication with somebody at the USCIS office.
I mean, at this point, I might just file an emergency mandamus.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the thing to do. But on here, and a mandamus will get them off the stick. But I mean, your lawyer has to be prepared to go to court like next week on there. You don't have any. You're really out of time at this point if nothing's happening.
Yeah, and that can be put together like that. Now, I'm going to show you guys my favorite tweet. I'm just saying. I don't know which cook.
Not old enough yet.
That's Phil.
Another 20 years, Chuck.
That's awesome. What happens for people not named plaintiffs? I mean, we kind of talked about that. Here's what I think. Here's what I think should be happening, Greg. I mean, see if you think I'm wrong. If you're a diversity lottery applicant and you're waiting for visa reissuance, you email your consulate tonight. You attach a copy of the order, which Phil has on his Twitter, and I have my Twitter, and Greg has on his Twitter.
And you can't attach a link to it because it's not going to.
Yeah, link. Don't attach an 85-page PDF, but attach a link to it. And these links are all out there. And say, when can I bring my passport? When can I send you my passport, my visa reissuance? Now, before I get to the next part about that, will the government appeal?
Yeah.
I mean, I would not be shocked if on Monday morning they are seeking from the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals a stay. I mean, they have to ask Judge Mehta first. There is zero chance he's going to give them a stay. In fact,
hey, at least the government lawyers' Labor Day weekend is ruined.
But they will then have to go to the D.C. Circuit. I don't see any way the D.C. Circuit overrules Mehta on this particular issue because
it's discretionary.
It's discretionary. He didn't overrule the president. He just went on a very narrow issue. I think they'll appeal, but I don't think we really have to worry about that. All right.
They might not. It's sort of been funny. The administration they used to seem like they would appeal everything, but every once in a while there's something that they just let go. And this one they might. Yeah,
there's several things. There's several things they have let go that they've lost on. By the way, Greg, I'm not tired of winning. Are you tired of winning? Phil, I'm not tired of winning. Definitely not.
It's my favorite thing to do.
Now, if you are in the group that were interviewed but never issued a visa, what do you do, Greg?
Contact the KCC.
Yeah.
No. You're interviewed.
Oh.
Yeah. No, the interview you got to contact the Post, but so the immigrant visa section at the Post, you have got to. I mean, you should be as soon as this is over, you need to get on the email and start that. Every day is precious between now and September 30th.
You might want to email them every day. And if you don't, you should tell us so that we can tell the judge on September 25th, 2020.
If they're if they're ignoring you or some of them are going to give you lip service and say, hey, we're not aware of any changes, blah, blah, blah. I mean, some of them are not, and really they aren't. I mean, they might be hearing about this decision because it's going to probably be talked about. But they're basically going to wait till they get a cable from Washington saying that they're allowed to do it. Now, that's I think the judge is going to be looking at how prompt the government is as far as getting the word out. So if they're not notifying them immediately, then I think that the judge is going to be more inclined to give that extraordinary relief after September 25th if the government didn't act promptly.
So if you get an email back from the consulate that says we're not issuing the visas, please forward that to Phil because we're going to be compiling that. By the way, to clarify what Greg said, a cable is Department of State speak for an email. Yeah. They actually used to be cables.
What might be interesting is that and it's on the coronavirus-immigration.com blog that I have. I posted a link, and I'm sure it's up somewhere on Facebook or somewhere for you. I posted a link to the discovery that we got a couple weeks ago in this case with the 300 pages of government documents. That is full of those cables, those emails, where they are providing instructions to the consulate. So if you want to kind of educate yourself on how the word is pushed out on what the consulates are supposed to do, that document is interesting to look at. So, you need to be the squeaky wheel, as they say, and just keep pushing at the consulate so that they can't ignore you and don't forget about you and don't let any time pass. They don't have time. They're not going to get your case finished if they're not starting on this in the next couple of days. So that's why you have to be relentless about.
So if you were for an interview, if you were scheduled for an interview and it was canceled, call them right away. If you were completed by the KCC and were told you were awaiting an interview, contact the consulate. If you're still at the KCC, contact the KCC. This is now on you. We have literally took the bulldozer and we have knocked the mountain down. You got to be behind us with your race cars coming through, and you got to be the squeaky wheel. You got to be the guys pushing the envelope. Now, be nice, be sweet, be kind.
Some of these consular officers are actually probably rooting for you guys.
Yeah, they are. I mean, most of the consulars I know are really
good people that are not happy with any of this stuff. My daughter worked at a consulate. She worked in the immigrant visa section of a major consulate, and there are a lot of people who think it's their mission and to help people get to America, and they have been just torn apart by this administration, and they have feel really bad for a lot of these dedicated consular officials. So don't expect that they're all. Some of them are not going to be hostile. They're going to be professional about it, but there are a lot of them who are probably going to be fairly excited for you.
All right, that's awesome news. Now, somebody did ask, what about A4? Greg addressed that earlier. The judge has not cleared the way for you, but there's another case in a few days in the Ninth Circuit. We'll see what happens. Happens.
Yeah, I mean, these and for the family categories and to an extent in the employment categories, you guys, I mean, obviously the goal is to get this stuff overturned via litigation. But the election is basically an even more effective way to get all this stuff overturned. And if Biden wins, Biden has already said that it will be. I mean, there was some kerfuffle about this a couple of days ago, but he's basically said at this point that he will be reversing all of the executive orders on immigration immediately, and then that could happen.
Well, actually, there's been a modification to that, Greg.
Well, there wasn't. Hold on. I know what you're talking about. He initially said they were going to do it as quickly as they could. Then there was like a whole kerfuffle, and they said, no, we'll do it right away. So they backtracked on their backtracking.
Oh, good, because all I saw was the backtracking by people who used to work for Obama that screwed up the whole thing in the first place. So hopefully he'll kick those people out and get some good people on.
I see this comment here. It's asking if it applies to only named plaintiffs. We want to be clear. It does not apply only to named plaintiffs. You should go right away, email right away to the consulate.
You're right. Your name doesn't need to be on the plaintiff list for you to make the same ask everybody else is to the consulates.
And by the way, about that, you're welcome. Much love from Kosovo. Hey, congrats, Kosovo had a thing today with Serbia to attract. I mean, hokala. I mean, come on in. Here's my favorite so far from my very dear friend Mo. I love Mo. Question about the L1. So the L1 is not part of the win that we had today. I'm not even sure.
The L's are definitely in the case for next week, though. What you need
next week's case.
National Association of Manufacturers versus Department of Homeland Security is the name of the case. It's in Northern California. Great team of lawyers that's working on that case. I've read and that's the one that really that's the Silicon Valley case, and they have Google and Amazon and Apple and all these great companies wrote their amicus briefs for that. I think the judge is going to be very impressed by what he hears in that case.
There's some amazing amicus briefs. I mean, it's like, I don't know how a judge reading that stuff would go anything other than, what do you hold these people out of the country for? They create jobs. What are you're nuts. All right, Fikru said, again, if you weren't scheduled, you call. It's on you now. It's on you now. Somebody asked 19 of the same questions in a row. We're going to skip that. Oh, I love this. Vishal, thank you for asking about DV 2021. Dude, you're fine. They started processing you last month. Statement, so you're golden. This is the one that really ticks me off, Greg. Barring immediate relatives. I just don't see how that fails. I think that a more aggressive argument on that and kind of, but we'll talk about that on a different thing.
The judge just said, well, you're going to have to wait, basically.
Yeah. Junier, before September 30, yes, you have to get it issued before September 30, unless the judge is not satisfied with our frame.
Decides this was it you that made the argument in the last Thursday about naming Brown v. Board of Education?
Yeah.
That was great. I have to say, I was so happy that you did that. So for those of you who didn't hear the arguments last week, Chuck was like basically reminding the judge of his power on there. Sometimes you have to remind the judge, it's like, you're a powerful dude, use your powers on there. One of the consequential cases in American legal history, American history more broadly, on there, and that was a court that basically came up with a remedy that wasn't necessarily in the statute book on there, and they figured out a way, and the judge, I guess the judge does like that argument, presumably, because that's why he said you have that September 25th date he's left open doing something like that.
I think he just needs to be reminded, you're a federal court judge, dude. You can pretty much do what you want, and the government's got to do it.
Trump can't stop you because you have lifetime tenure. So
I'm waiting for my email documents. Abo, you need to read. I assuming this is the KCC that you're waiting for. You have to reach out. Don't be lollygagging, waiting for the government to do your job. Now, let's be clear. The government has a list of everybody that won the lottery and where everybody is. The Department of State knows this. Okay, so you need to reach out and push this for them. Layla, KCC confirmation email on March 1st. Again, you need to reach back out to the KCC and say, where's my appointment? Where's my interview? Contact them. Yes. By the way, it's the government's emails work 24/7. Don't just email them during business hours. Get it off to them so they don't get it. So they get it. Azerbaijan, my interview's been closed. It must be Georgia. Yeah, I know. And that's fine. So you can contact the U.S. consulate in Tbilisi, and it's a beautiful country. I have many clients from there. And I'm sure they'll work you in. They'll get it. They know they've got to take you. Let's see here. I don't want to jump too far away. Here's what I love. It's amazing how you Americans are fighting for all of us. It's what we do. It's what we do.
America.
World War, reigning champions. I'm just saying. I just love that. Any chance if you send my DS-260 I have not received the okay from the KCC? Yes, you have a chance. The judge told the KCC they're going to have, KCC is going to have to come in and say, Judge, you know, we've got 20,000 of these we haven't done yet, and it's September 25th, and there's 20,000 remaining visas. I think the judge is going to say, great, then I'm reserving these visas. Keep working on them.
Okay. Yeah, it's like, what has KCC been doing for the last couple of months? Watching Netflix.
Yeah, Damon should have had your question answered. The applicants with us get priority, so the plaintiffs supposed to be treated first, but they're going to work on everybody. So if you're one of our plaintiffs, we'll be emailing you, of course, separately about this and what you need to be doing on this, but you need to be reaching out as well.
But make no mistake there, the State Department has the ability to process more than just the plaintiffs.
Yeah.
No, the judge told him to process everybody.
Yeah. By the way, Anchor is issuing visas. They're open. Okay, so they can do their job here. Let's say consuls couldn't schedule all interview end of the month. Would that mean judge was another? You know, Marianne, we can't predict that, but I think it's
left open the possibility.
I think it's well implied, but don't wait on that. That's not your focus. Your focus is to force an interview. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now here, Greg, I love this question.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. It helps. This helps the K1s. It helps the K1s for a couple of reasons. One, I mean, the big one is that the excuse of not issuing visas because of the proclamation is going to be a lot harder for the State Department to make in the arguments on that case. And then everybody else who's not subject to the proclamations, it's really that's kind of like a separate issue for them because the government is just being slow for them, and they're not saying they can't issue the visas. They're just not issuing them because they are sitting on watching Netflix every day on there. But it will definitely be very helpful for those who are subject to the 14-day ban, the bans that start with the number 9, not the number 10. It's always hard because there's so many of them that are out there. But this is good news. I think this is going to strengthen our arguments in that case.
I do. This video will be uploaded to YouTube. It'll be on Greg's YouTube. Greg, you can have it on your YouTube channel. I know it'll be on Baxter's YouTube channel.
I think as long as there's a link, we'll either embed it on our website or we'll embed it in Facebook.
Okay, ours will be on our YouTube channel. You can go to YouTube and like us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Cook Baxter. YouTube, Schengen ban. The Schengen ban is not a reason to not give you the visa. The judge made that clear, right, Phil, in his decision. Mm-hmm. So they have to give you the visa. Now, in order to come to the States, there's still a Schengen ban. So,
well, let me back up on that. The judge didn't speak to the Schengen ban in this case, but his arguments, the legal conclusions that he came to are obviously that's the next step, and that will be the argument that we're going to make in the K1 case that's coming up. Now, hopefully the government will sort of figure it out and not just try and string it out. But they do have the ability. Well, the Schengen ban. No, let me back up a second. The Schengen ban is not going to be an excuse for not issuing a DV-20, a DV, but it's also, we think, not going to be an excuse for other categories either of issuing visas when people need to have that visa issued for one reason or another.
And it's for the same reasons because of the entry and not because of issuance. Right.
So the judge's logic in this case didn't just apply to the April and the June bans. It does apply to the Schengen ban as well. So I'm not anticipating the government's going to give us trouble on that issue.
Yeah, I don't know. But you still have to take 14 days somewhere else. I mean, the ban still exists in the context of entry into the United States. So there are several websites out there to say where you can go. I understand you can go to Croatia for 2 weeks.
Well, if Trump is still going to be president on December 30th, unless he something health-wise happens. So you're not coming in on the DV before that point. Now, what you could do if he doesn't extend it is you could spend those 14 days like right before December 30th, like, for the second half of December, so that as soon as December 30th rolls around, if he doesn't just be a jerk and decide to extend for 3 more weeks just because he can be a jerk on it, then you might be able to come and that might be your New Year's party could be in America. But we don't know. That does raise the question of what Trump does. If let's say Trump wins, he's going to extend these proclamations forever. I'm just sorry. That's just what's going to happen.
Yeah, but that then let's go back to court, Greg, because these are not supposed to be forever.
Right. If he loses, though, they expire December 30th, but he is the president until January 20th or 21st, whatever the inauguration day is.
20th at 11:59, he stops being
there. I'm so there.
Now, he may have President Pelosi at that point, but he's done being president on that day.
Right, but he can extend this stuff out until the very last moment.
We should note, though, that just touching on the analysis of the judge, is that we were actually the only plaintiffs who argued that he can't just endlessly extend it, and the judge actually did not buy that argument. So it would be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah. It would be good. All right, we've got Subash. Again, we talked about the F2As. This is something I think I would be interested in a lawsuit later on if that is not addressed in the NAM lawsuit, or if the Gomez plaintiffs don't appeal. We'll see where they are. Again, Rijal, you just need to call the consulate and get your appointment done. Now I like this one.
That's a good point, Chuck. That you just mentioned. When the Gomez plaintiffs can appeal, and that decision we don't know what they're going to do yet. So it may be, I'm saying this is there's this other case in California, but there's also potentially an appeal for the Gomez plaintiffs to the DC Circuit, and
I think they might.
Why not? For that,
I mean, I think the only question is it will not be treated on a preliminary injunction process. And again, this case is not over. This is just a preliminary injunction. The case is not
the merits.
Yeah, he has to have a motion for summary judgment.
What do you think the timing is for that?
Yeah. So
could take a lot longer.
I mean, it's not going to happen before the inauguration.
No, I agree. DV lotteries under mission critical and urgent. The way I read the decision, these are mission critical and urgent.
Yeah.
And if they're
that's how he says it.
Basically, that's why he did what he did.
Yeah, I think they don't have any excuse.
He said that the consulates cannot deny it based on not being quote unquote mission critical or emergencies. So
we have Mwanga Ian from Uganda.
Which means they are.
Mwanga, call the case, email the KCC. I mean, you need to get on them about this and create the paper trail tonight. Right? Or
send
this
us
morning.
all the emails if they say no.
I don't know what time zone.
Africa, it's probably like 3 o'clock in the morning. But you have to
address 10:15.
If you will need our help in the future for purposes of another lawsuit, like September 25th, you need to document. I emailed them the day I won. They didn't get back to me for a week. They kind of blew me off. They did this. We're going to need that, and we will have it on Facebook Live as we get close to, and Twitter. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and as we get closer to that day, we're probably going to need your information so we can file with the court in response to whatever the government is saying. Making me nervous. Judge ordered the government, but I'm still afraid consuls what. Well, Gamze, if the Department of State knows what's good for them, I think they will, in all good faith, do their best at this. I really do.
They have to show their good faith too.
Yeah, the judge, and that's why, again, if you're getting emails back where they're, we can't do anything, you need to let us know. So, Gamze, I have more faith in the folks at the Department of State than you do. I have a high number. Okay, if everybody's current, that's the thing. The visa bulletin, everyone is current. So now it's a race, ladies and gentlemen. It's a race. Every number's current. So it doesn't matter. Besides being a plaintiff, if you're the last guy picked in the lottery, you can still get it. All right. So you need to go from there.
I do think most people are actually going to get it that want it. I think that, Chuck, I understand what you're saying as far as there's no guarantees, but I have a feeling a lot of people probably dropped out when these bans went into effect, and they just basically came up with other plans. Just things changed, and I have a feeling some of these folks, there's not going to be as high of a yield as there normally would be in terms of the numbers that ultimately file. So I'm a little more optimistic than you.
I agree. Big Jan says, "Hey, my interview is canceled. Is he here? Help me." Big Jan, have you not been listening? Dude, you're welcome. All right. This is a good one from Nikita. Is a national interest exception as equal as mission critical? Well, yeah, I mean, again, they're all mission critical. DVs are now mission.
I'm not sure that she's talking about lottery.
Yeah.
I think this is more of a visa ban question on there.
That's a good point.
And it is, you know what, it is an interesting question regarding that. That because we are hearing a lot of reports from people who are not getting expedited. They're not really getting the VIP treatment, even though they're making national interest arguments, that they're not getting the appointments booked for months on end and all that. So they're not treating NIE and national interest exceptions as mission critical in terms of what I'm hearing. I don't know if you guys are hearing hearing a different story.
Today, Greg, London at least is saying make an appointment for next year. Whatever you can get on the website, make an appointment, and then request the national interest exception urgency.
Right. London might be doing it, but I'm hearing from other consulates that are not doing squat in that regard. So they just don't all seem to be operating on the same page as far as how they're treating this, and not even sure consular officers are within a same consulate are operating on the same page as others in the same consulate. So it's a mess right now. One tip I did hear that Jason Susser in our office has been doing this successfully is for people that are getting these appointments that are booked out, way out, that a lot of consulates have a way, I guess, that you can basically take appointments for people when there are cancellations each day. I'm not sure exactly how it works at each place, but there is a way to sort of jump in if you check early in the day and sometimes grab some of these openings. So that might be something that you want to investigate at how it works at your particular consulate.
This is a good one. What if the embassy's closed? Well, first of all, embassies aren't closed. All right? There are people working in every U.S. embassy and consulate around the world. The question is, are they not seeing people? So they're there. Email them. All right. If trust me, they're not closed. So you got to get that out there. This one raises a good question, Greg. This is about the medical exam. Everybody got to get a medical exam. Mm-hmm. I will answer this one. It's actually pretty simple. They've been extending the validity period of the medical exam, month by month by month by month by month. So you should not have to get another medical exam. In fact, do not get a new medical unless specifically told to by the consulate, because it seems to me that they're going to either waive the medical or just give it continuing validity.
Can you guys do a favor and let Phil know as well if they are telling you that they're not processing you because you have an expired medical?
Yeah, please do, because that should go to the argument on September 25th on being bad faith as well.
Yeah. All right. So if the government doesn't process it before the 30th, do you think the judge will say visa? Yeah, I do think. I no promises, but I think this is somebody who tuned in apparently late. What should be the next step? Get on your email, please, and that would be awesome. We'd really appreciate that. Nicole said London has no appointments, but they do. They're just in 2021 because I had a client book one today, and somebody just put up here that I just emailed the consulate.
Great.
This is my favorite.
Did they already?
Talking about the lottery visa, insane. I don't know who Azarel is, but I agree. America's in crisis, and hopefully that crisis will end on January 20th, 2021. What should you tell the KCC? You tell them you won the lawsuit and you want your stuff finalized for an appointment. That's what you tell them. All right. Let's see. There's lots of questions we're not going to get to because we're not going to go all night. I'd like to get some sleep tonight, and I'm sure many of you would like to get some sleep tonight. Let's see. And again, a lot of these questions on the other bans were answered earlier, so we're not going to really go back to those. Just kind of scrolling what other questions we have here. Again, I do want to answer this one again, Mikdad. Everybody's current, all right? So at this point, there is no more line. Everybody's current, so you need to reach out to the KCC in your consulate, all right? Unfortunately, Greg, so many J1 visas for teachers that are so desperately needed in the United States. I mean, this is just really just dumb stuff that the consulate's doing this. Let's see other questions. Oh, here's my favorite one. The airports are closed. That's okay, because you're not leaving today. Right. You have until March, okay? So you'll be okay. Something will happen.
I mean, there may be some logistical challenges for people to get to their interviews. That I'm a little concerned about as well. Some of these countries are pretty big, and so you're not going to have a lot of time. But
yeah, this actually is, she's from Cuba. And I think Cuba has to go to Jamaica, Bahamas. I know they're not going to Venezuela, but I know they have to leave the island. Take a boat. I hear everybody.
I thought they had I thought they were doing visa processing within Cuba. Did Trump stop that? They started that.
Again, this is something, we don't have every answer, but this is one that good lawyers will be able to answer probably on Tuesday. And keep in mind, everybody, Monday is an American holiday, which means the consulates don't expect them to get back to you on Monday. If they're smart, they will. But they're on vacation at the consulates too, even if Monday is likely not a holiday in your country. It is a holiday here. So we should have a lot more answers on Tuesday. And I like Josephine for now to get our visa, but not do the travel until after. Yeah, that's Josephine. That's the rule right now. That's the rule.
You can only get the visa up until September 30th right now.
Yeah. So then you can travel.
You can't travel until after December 30th.
And I think this will make this the last one. Mamta, her visa expired. Mamta, you are literally at the top of the list for this judge. He said, reissue the darn visas. Reissue them.
Send them a copy.
Cubans go to Guyana. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm assuming you can take a boat if you can't get an airplane.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s, they built boats out of 55 Chevys. I mean, it's you do what you got to do. Those of us old enough to remember that. Let's see. Beto had an L1. Yeah, this is not an L1 call, but yes, if you meet the NIE national exception, you can get an appointment. So these have all been really great questions here. We appreciate everybody tuning into this. Any final comments here, Greg, that you have?
No, I mean, this is we've got a pretty damn good result for these plaintiffs, and for the ones that were in the Ocker case, and for the others of you, we're just going to have to keep fighting, and hopefully that there will be some good news soon. Yeah,
Phil, do you have any concluding comments?
No.
Phil's not going to bed anytime soon. He has a 10-month-old, so he maybe should be getting up right about now.
That's right.
And that baby is a handsome grandson, I have to tell you. Thank you, everybody, for listening tonight. We're going to post this up. I'm going to get Greg the video. We'll post it on our YouTube page. We'll post it on our Facebook page. Give us a like on everything. And we'll be probably back early next week with another update once we further digest this and Department of State gets back to us with what they're going to do. Venezuelans, by the way, processing Colombia. You guys have a great night. We'll see you soon.